Here's your host, Dennis Rimmer.
Welcome back. It's Talking Books and Writing and Stuff podcast time, of course. Robert Hough is with us from Toronto today. I'm DR, your genial host, and talking today about Robert Hough's writing career, also Anarchists in Love, his latest work, in which a 20-year-old named Emma Goldman moves to the big city, falls in love, becomes an anarchist, forms a polyamorous revolutionary cell, and plots to assassinate the industrialist Henry C. Frick. But first of all, Robert, thank you for being with us, Robert Hough. And, well, maybe we'll start. What is an anarchist?
Well, there's all different types of anarchists, but an Emma Goldman anarchist believes that all government is intended to enslave you and shouldn't exist. She really believes that all institutions didn't serve people, so she was also anti-church, anti-formal education, anti-government, anti-capitalism. She was just really against any kind of governing institution.
And so what do you replace those with, or do you?
Well, I'm an expert in the first 2 years of Emma Goldman's life in New York City, in which she moves there and plots to assassinate Henry C. Frick, the industrialist. So I'm not really an expert on anarchist theory, and ironically enough, know very little about politics. She would have said that, see, the interesting thing about anarchists, you would think, because they're against everything, that they were very kind of nihilistic. In fact, it's quite the opposite. They really believed that deep down people were completely pure and innocent. I'm told that they got that from the philosopher Rousseau, whom I know nothing about. Because, as I said, I know very little about politics or political philosophy. But this is what I'm told. And so they really believed that all human rot, all human bad behavior was caused by the institutions that enslave us. So they gave very little. I don't think they really knew exactly what would happen when the worldwide anarchist revolution came and all governments were deposed. I think that they assumed that people would naturally spring up in these kind of collectives, and cooperatively move forward somehow. They just had a great amount of belief in the nobility of the human spirit. And without leadership, they just thought that society would flourish.
And it's probably a wonderful philosophical viewpoint, but not practical in day-to-day human terms, unfortunately. Because I agree.
Well, yeah, I mean, the question.
Yeah.
The question I always get is whether I'm an anarchist.
Right.
And I understand why people pose the question, because the novel is written from the perspective of Emma Goldman and the love of her life, a guy named Sasha Berkman, and they're both hardcore anarchists. So the book comes off as very promotional of anarchism, but that's because it's written from the perspective of those two characters. Me, I believe that the human spirit is capable of great nobility, but also just, the most vile behavior, mostly when we are in groups or under orders or hungry.
Yeah.
So I am no anarchist. At least I'm not a Goldman type anarchist.
Right.
That's for sure. Yeah, no, I was definitely, when I was writing the book, I was, acting. Which is not to say that, I admire a lot of things about Emma Goldman, her courage for one thing, her energy level. But no, I am not a sharer of the anarchist philosophy in any way, shape, or form.
But that's the joy of being a writer. You can be something else and not be something else at the same time.
Well, that's it. They were extremely fun characters to write because they were so unbounded. Just nothing slowed them down. And this anarchist philosophy is so kind of foreign to the way I think that I found it fascinating.
And I've got, I agree. And we've got our millennial kids who say, do away with the rich and all that kind of stuff. And I'm saying, that's fine. Well, who's going to run the companies? Who's going to give you the cell phone that you're spreading all of these stories on? Who's going to make the papers and the pencils and pens that you need, that kind of stuff? So it's great.
Well,
it goes both ways.
Actually, that perspective I do have some sympathy with. I mean, the thing about my novel is very current, even though it takes place in the 1890s. Right. It's extremely current. Yeah. In the 1890s, roughly 90% of the nation's wealth was in the hand of 10% of the individuals. Remember, it was the Gilded Age, not the Golden Age.
No, the Gilded Age.
The Gilded Age,
yeah.
i.e., it wasn't all that great. Like Emma Goldman, she was a Russian exile, as were all the anarchists of that time. They really believed that, the streets of America were paved with gold. America was very good at branding itself back then.
Yep.
But when she showed up, she discovered that, everyone was living in these terrible tuberculosis-ridden tenements, and that all the money was in the hands of, the Guggenheims, the Rockefellers, the Morgans, the Vanderbilts.
Yep.
And that was about it. And things got a lot better, but now the distribution of wealth in America is pretty much the same.
Right.
So in the 1890s, when so much wealth is in the hands of so few people, you're going to get pushback. You're going to get a revolution of sorts. So in the 1890s, you saw the rise of anarchism, communism, socialism, trade unionism. It was against the law to have a union back then.
Oh, yeah.
And now what you're getting is MAGA.
Yeah.
Like MAGA and anarchism are two completely different philosophies. They've completely differently textured. The tone of them is completely different. But they are born out of the same social conditions. If too few have too much, you're going to get a revolution. You're going to get pushback. So that's kind of what the novel's about, really, how the form that pushback can take sometimes.
So, yeah, the Gilded Age, gilded means it's covered in a coat of something bright and shiny, but beneath there's rot, basically.
Yeah, like crappy tin or something. I mean, when you're describing jewelry as gilded, what you're saying is it's lousy jewelry, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember who struck the phrase "the Gilded Age," but I mean, it was well chosen. Those words. People forget this. We tend to look back longingly at times of old.
No, I don't think so.
But I mean, if you weren't a member of those families, life was tough in New York City.
Oh yeah. Well, and how does that compare with Canada at the same time, and now Canada today compared to the Gilded Age and the mega rich in the U.S.? Do we have mega rich in Canada controlling everything?
I would say, it's important not to be too glib because we're Canadian. Like everything else, we're America light. So yes, there is an unfair distribution of wealth in Canada. It's not as pronounced, perhaps, as it is in the United States. Because the United States is always more.
Yeah.
It just is. That's the way they do business down there. More and more and more. Well, so it's a little bit more exaggerated, but we're not that far off, I would say.
Yeah.
People can't afford homes in Toronto where I live. No one can.
No one can. So,
except for people like me who bought a house more than 25 years ago.
Exactly. And then, when you cash in and move to the cottage country, you'll be okay. Or not.
Yeah, which Emma Goldman did not have a cottage.
Right.
I just think it's so interesting. They really thought so. They decided to. The story of Henry C. Frick. He was Andrew Carnegie's right-hand man. He ran Andrew Carnegie's steel plant for him in Pittsburgh.
Because there's Ford Frick Field was where the Pittsburgh Pirates used to play. So.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Frick Field.
Anyway, there was a strike at the plant, and Frick opened fire on the strikers and killed 7 of them and wounded a bunch of others. So Emma Goldman and Sasha Berkman, her lifelong companion, really decided that they needed to take him out in order, and they really believed this would spark a worldwide anarchist revolution. They believed that there was a feeling in the air. It was called revolution, or propaganda of the deed. It was a kind of a cornerstone of anarchist thought at the time, that if you did something really big, it would ignite others. So when they tried to kill Frick, this was their intention. They knew that, if they succeeded, Frick would be replaced tomorrow, kind of thing. But They really believed that this might kick off the revolution, and that everything would change. So that's why they did it.
Now, you've got a book here that is fiction, but it's based on fact. How do you do that? How do you amalgamate the two?
So my book is highly, highly accurate. I think people find that hard to believe, given all the hijinks that those two engaged in. Emma was polyamorous.
Yep.
She did not believe in monogamy. She thought monogamy was a lie, and that it was harmful to the spirit and to the health.
Oh.
She did have a lifelong companion, this Sasha Berkman, but she had hundreds of lovers in her life and lived a frank polyamorous lifestyle. I think people think, okay, I must be making that up, but no, it really happened. The thing with Frick, and Emma becomes a prostitute in order to fund the assassination attempt. People think I'm making this up, but no, it's all there in both Emma Goldman and Sasha Berkman left memoirs.
Oh.
Hers was called Living My Life. It was like 800 pages long. The first 80 pages or so is the time covered in my novel.
Gotcha.
So basically, I just brought it life by imagining, dialogue, what the weather was like in every scene.
Yeah.
Those are the fiction. I have written novels before with actual people in them, but they've tended to be extremely obscure historical characters. So much has been written about Emma Goldman and Sasha Berkman that I just really wanted it to be highly, highly accurate, because people will check, having read the book, they'll go, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. First thing they're going to do is go to Google and check her life story. And I didn't want them to lose respect for the book. So, yeah.
Yep. So that was leading to my next question, was how did you do the research for all of this? But I guess that kind of answers some of that question.
Yeah, the research was easy. Was really knowing when to stop.
Oh.
She wrote a lot of books, too, about various things. Her topics of interest were, the distribution of wealth, women's issues. They eventually got thrown out of America, and they went to Russia, and then she started preaching about the injustices perpetrated by the Bolshevik government, until the Russians got sick of her and they threw her out of Russia as well. So she made a habit of getting thrown out of countries. I should say she became famous as a public speaker. This was what she was good at. So a lot of her speeches are in book form. There was just so much to read about her that eventually I just had to know when to stop. The other thing, a shout out to the Tenement Museum in New York City. Because I'm describing tenement life, but luckily there's a tenement from that era completely preserved in New York City. What a gift.
Oh. Do you know where the word tenement came from? Because I don't. I'm just wondering why they were called that.
No idea. Never even occurred to me.
Oh, okay. So, when researching this book, was there anything that was very surprising that you learned while doing the work?
Yeah. The story is about where I got the idea for the book. It's kind of mysterious. It was in the middle of COVID, and I finished my previous novel and was looking for something to write about. and I was walking my dog in a park, thinking, "Oh, what should I write about?" And just out of the blue, a voice in my head said, "Why not Emma Goldman?" And I'm like, "Really? I mean,
really?
Where did this come from? I barely know who Emma Goldman is. All I knew is she was some anarchist." So, I went away, and because I got a lot of stupid ideas, and I only have to do a couple of hours of research to realize it's a stupid idea. And I went home to prove to myself that this was a dumb idea. I think I thought she was kind of eggheady. I thought she was more of a theorist.
Gotcha.
But so I got my hands on her memoir, Living My Life, and oh my God, like all this polyamory and assassinations, and I was surprised by every minute of it. I mean, I just could not believe that it wasn't a novel or a movie already.
Right.
So I just felt obligated to write about her attempt to murder Henry C. Frick.
They didn't succeed, obviously.
Well, I shouldn't really say that's the climax of the book.
Oh, oops.
I mean, it's a Google away.
Oops. Sorry. I was getting ahead of ourselves. My problem. There you go, dear listener. Grab the book and you'll find out for sure. And the book is...
What happened?
Yeah, Anarchists in Love, Robert Hough. The picture on the cover, is that Emma herself?
Yeah, when she was about 20.
Okay. When she ditched her current husband and grabbed her suitcase and her sewing machine and took off to New York.
Yeah, I mean, she fled Russia. She was a Jew from Russia. All of the anarchists of the Lower East Side were fed up. They were treated horribly by the Tsar, forced to live in the Pale of Settlement, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, yeah.
She moved to Rochester, where where her older sisters lived. She married at 18. It was a terrible marriage. She fled in the middle of the night and moved to New York City, and that's when it all happened.
Now, what do you hope people take from Anarchists in Love when they finish the book?
Just this notion that people can only be pushed too far, I think. There's something in the air that the book captures. Remember when that guy murdered that CEO of an insurance company?
Yep.
On the streets of New York City?
Right.
I mean, I thought this was appalling behavior. The poor guy probably had a wife and kids.
Exactly.
But most people I know were like, he runs an insurance company, he had it coming.
Yeah.
So
the big question is who's going to play him in the Netflix movie? That's not whether or not that he was a murderer. It's like, oh wow, this guy's a folk hero.
Yeah, and I think in the 60s when there was a huge middle class still in America, I don't think you would have had that. I think people would have been incensed at the behavior of this guy who just took it upon himself to take out an insurance company executive. But today, like even, sober friends of mine were like, yeah, I got screwed over by my insurance company, so I can live with it. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
And it's, people are sick of watching, Jeff Bezos fly 120 people to, where was it, an island in Italy that he rented?
Oh, probably. Something like that, yeah.
To get married. Those gaudy displays.
Right.
And I would also say that I think that in some ways, like many people have identified the current times as the second Gilded Age. I'm not the only one.
Correct.
I think in many ways it's worse because in the 1890s, say what you will about the Andrew Carnegies of the world, at least they had a sense of noblesse oblige. They did give back. I mean, Carnegie built housing for the poor. He built libraries everywhere in Canada too.
Yeah.
But what does Bezos do? What does Musk do? What does Zuckerberg do?
Yeah.
They just have no impulse. They don't build art galleries. That was the other thing that millionaires did. They don't construct parks. There's just none of that. It's just about accumulating more and more and more and more and more and more. It's just I just feel like they're in a big contest with each other. But no, they certainly don't feel it's their duty to contribute
Right.
to the culture other than running their companies, which I'm sure they believe is for the benefit of our culture, providing employment, blah, blah, blah.
Blah.
But this notion of, giving back in the forms of charities, cultural institutions, it doesn't exist anymore.
No.
At all.
It doesn't. No, you're right. I was discussing that with other people, and some people say, well, it's their money. They can do what they want. But it's like you've got so much. What's a couple of billion here and there to, to cure cancer, provide health care for everybody, and things like that? What are you going to do with all that stuff? You don't need it all. What? I don't understand. I mean, Jeff Bezos, he gutted the Washington Post. So, what?
Yeah.
What's the point of that? I don't understand.
And you see these mansions that they have in Palo Alto, giant entire city blocks that they've torn down to put up, compounds, walled compounds, and people get mad.
Yeah.
And that's why when that poor insurance executive gets shot, people are okay with it. They want something to happen. If Emma Goldman were alive today, she would be a leader of the No Kings movement.
Exactly.
If not,
right.
if not the leader. People want another Emma Goldman. As morally questionable as her behavior was, people want another Emma Goldman to deal with, the Musks, the Bezoses, the Zuckerbergs.
Yeah. And the
people are sick of the Kardashians. People are sick of their behavior.
And the thing is, those tech bros, we'll call them, the rich oligarchs, they don't produce anything. They have a website and other people give them money, and that's it. Like Uber, I'll call them out. You have a website, and then everybody is working for them on a piecemeal basis.
There's a lot of contract work these days, so no benefits.
Nothing.
Anyway, I changed to Hop, which is the market leader in Europe. So I don't use Uber anymore.
I've never used it. Then there's Lyft, and I don't understand the difference. So,
well, when the elbows up thing all happened, I was all excited about that. So Lyft and Uber are both American companies, so I switched to Hop.
Okay.
It doesn't make any difference. I doubt it. And that's a different question. Yeah. Canadians being impatient with the United States because of tariffs, that's a completely different issue. Right. We're talking about, the sickening displays of the wealthy these days, and what's going to happen. Obviously, you're going to have something like MAGA, or in Emma's day, you saw the rise of anarchism. You're going to get something. People aren't just going to sit back and take it. So that's I think the point of the novel.
Right. And like you said, the MAGA, what confuses me is that people, even up here, they think Trump is wonderful, but what is he going to do for them? I mean, they're going to give him money, but what are they going to get out of it? Nothing.
Yeah, I think that a degree of disappointment will set in. If it hasn't already. All that's happened really is food prices have gotten far more expensive in the States. But, my book isn't about Trump at all.
No. But
it's just
the comparison of the times.
It's this. It wasn't Trump who. I tried to fact check whether the distribution of wealth in America is the same now as it was in the Gilded Age, i.e. 10% in 90% in 10% of the people. And it's very hard to check because no one really knows how wealthy the wealthiest are.
Yeah.
But most agree it's something around there. Also, there's money all over the place. They hide money everywhere too. So it's very difficult to know how much money these people actually have. So it's hard to do the math. But I saw some figures that say 90% of the nation's wealth are held by 0.0001%. Mm-hmm. So we have just absolutely mega rich people who do behave like kings, which is why you got the No Kings movement.
Yep.
So that's what this book about is. It's about people getting pissed off.
Yeah.
Because they have so little, and the people at the top got so much.
Right.
Yeah. And just a natural human reaction revolt at a certain point. People can only be pushed too far. And I think we're seeing that in the States now, and we certainly saw it in the Gilded Age. The first Gilded Age.
Bring out the guillotines. That's
well, they should be careful.
Yeah.
They're nervous. They're nervous. They're buying up property in New Zealand to hide in when the environment collapses.
And they'll go.
It's nutty. Anyway, the one concern I had when I was writing the book was, will people get that I'm writing about today? But everyone seems to get it.
Yes.
That the novel's really about what's going on today.
Robert Hough is with us, Anarchists in Love, his latest work. And I'm checking back, and you've had lots of well-received books, but different publishers all along. Is it even in your track record success, you can't find publishers these days?
Well, as you can see, I've had no problem finding publishers.
Yeah, but different one. Nobody's stuck with you, I think, is what I'm kind of saying. You don't have long-term contracts.
Well, no one does these days. Those don't exist.
They don't. Just
no.
When did you know you wanted to make writing your lifelong pursuit?
I wrote a satiric column for one of the newspapers at university, and so that I kind of got the writing bug from that.
And one thing led to another, and here we are?
Yeah. So I was a magazine journalist for 10 or 15 years and started writing novels in 2000, around there. My first one came out in 2001, so I would have started writing novels like 98 sort of thing. So, I had 1.5 novels that went nowhere. But finally had one published in 2001.
Yep. So is this your full-time pursuit?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yep. And what's your writing routine then? Your day-to-day?
Yeah, so I get up in the morning and start writing right away. And then I write till 12 or 1. And then the rest of the day is, administrative stuff, research, watching Instagram reels kind of thing.
Okay.
Very few people can write effectively for more than 3 or 4 hours in a day. Yeah. It is mentally fatiguing.
Mentally, yes.
Novel writing.
Turns your brain to mush.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. What's next on your project list then?
Well, you work so far ahead. The publishing industry works quite slowly, so I'm nearing completion of my next novel, which is a satire about a man with multiple personality disorder who forms his own barbershop quartet and wins America's Got Talent.
By himself.
Yeah, he produces all 4 voices of a barbershop quartet by himself.
That is going to be a doozy. I look forward to that one as well. Just to wrap it up, Robert Hough, author of Anarchists in Love and other books. You can track him on your favorite search place. Pets. You got any pets wandering around the house? You said you walk your dog, so...
No, the dog is no more.
Oh, no.
So we are pet free.
Oh, pet free. Is that good or bad?
It's fantastic. No more dog hair.
No more dog hair. We'll leave it at that. Robert Hough, thank you very much. And dear listener, Anarchists in Love, it's waiting for you at your favorite bookstore, maybe an independent bookstore, by the way. Thank you, Robert. Have a good day.
All right, same to you.
Hope you enjoyed this episode of Talking Books and Stuff with Dennis Rimmer. You can find Talking Books and Stuff anywhere you get your podcasts. Over 300 episodes await you.